Welcome to the 24th episode of the Splitfire Gaming Podcast. This is a review of Derby Deathmatch, which would have been 2 weeks ago. Me and Scott went to Derby, which you can see in the map there. And Scott's back to talk about it.
Hello.
Insert joke about, oh, you're always on this show. And then, ironically, that's becoming more of a reference as well, me referencing that. So it's getting very meta. But anyway.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Or if it's broke.
If it's broken, but it's there, just put up with it.
Just keep doing it, yeah. I'm not changing. Yeah. As I was explaining to people about the old world, change is always bad.
Nobody likes change.
No, keep it the way it is. Are you getting pestered to death by people saying, when's the next episode?
That very small portion of Adoran fans, one special fan, you know who you are, and I appreciate you.
Well, I've had at least 2 people say, when's the next episode? So that's superstardom.
Dangerously close to becoming, if not popular, at least wanted.
A lot of people have got a lot of time to fill, and they've listened to everything else. They've listened to the Triple Crown back catalogue, and now they want someone to tide them over.
Yeah, they're spent on that, and no one's produced a battle report for a while, so we're all left.
Oh, I know someone who will remain nameless who's going on Take the Crown.
Yes, as do I.
Yeah. I hope it gets destroyed.
I hope he does really well.
See, it could be anyone who I'm talking about. So whoever it is, and whatever your army you might be using, I hope it gets crushed.
And I hope you do very well. Because
one of us is going to be right. You ever considered going for Take the Crown?
That'd be cool, actually, to be fair, if I was allowed. I don't know if I'm safe to be let loose on camera.
If I was allowed on?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you don't realise is Scott was the 4th Triple Crown guy, but he had to leave in mysterious circumstances, which is why I picked him up so cheap.
Oh, there's a big gutter somewhere.
In Colchester.
Yeah, this is a real put-on northern accent just to throw people off the scent.
Yeah, he's actually a Essex accent, but anyway.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. I've had no further offers to appear on other shows, so my peak of being in demand is clearly now troughing.
Well, my only offer is this one that I keep accepting, so...
You're just trying to put this into like a bigger offer, aren't you? Like get Steve off Mini Wargame and accidentally watches this.
No, because that would mean he might be remotely interested in learning the actual rules of the game that he plays.
He doesn't play 8th anymore. He plays WAP.
Well, we all know my thoughts on WAP, don't we?
which is
how disgusted I am about the whole thing.
It was quite funny because when you said that, I thought, we're going to get some possible negative comments about that. But by the time it had been released, he'd already said, I'll still continue it. So I don't know if that take the edge off, but...
I won't continue with past Old World, though, because people won't care, couldn't care less. And they'll play the actual GW-supported game.
I suppose, but I don't know.
I've massively misread it, but I'd be very shocked if a lot of the fan ones continue once a fully supported game comes out.
Probably not. I mean, that's going to be a lot of effort, but...
And hopefully not. No disrespect to the fan-created games, but hopefully the return of an actual supported game system brings the entire hobby sort of back together, which would be lovely.
You're going to
celebrate. Look at me.
Going all in on this WAP hatred here, which...
not just them, all the other ones as well.
Ninth Age, the other one. I don't know. I've never played any of them or have any.
No, so I'm just judging from a distance. Yeah. Played some of the WAP ones, so I've played that enough that I can act with my disdain. But no, like all just I do hope that the return of Old World, as and when that is, really brings the community back as a cohesive group. You know, the different fan ones, 8th ed, 6th ed, although.
6th
We'll see. We'll see. Go look at these things very positively.
I'm fully willing to reunify all of them as long as the old world is just 8th republished. That's the.
I think there's a good chance that may be where your stumbling block occurs.
That's my one minor demand in my otherwise total concession is that.
Just that minor demand, yeah.
Just slight hope that it's just 8th completely republished with an up-to-date FAQ.
I mean, an FAQ would be nice.
It would. An FAQ that doesn't have 2 different definitions for Spirit League. That would be nice.
Yes, it would. Yeah, it would.
Anyway, Bunker Gaming hasn't published my second appearance there yet. I can only assume, and I'm going to put this out in the public domain. There is a second episode if he decides not to publish it for, I don't know, reasons of what happened in the game. Then the conspiracy theory starts here. It does exist, and like those UFO files, it must be released. Derby. This had nothing to do with Derby. That was just rambling about nothing.
So basically, our standard fare.
Yeah, get used to it. Derby, win, lose, draw. Different to 20-0 system, which I partially remembered throughout the course of the tournament. I like Derby. I like it as a bit of a mix up from the 20-0 standard.
Agreed. I like Derby. The win-loss draw is just different, and I think that's nice that it's just you're still playing the game you always play, but you have to think about it a bit differently. It forces different lists as well, and I like the rule book scenarios for the most part as well.
I like them because you always end up playing the tournament-specific ones when you're practicing, or you just stick the battle line because it's straightforward. Now, my favourite one is Dawn Attack, I think.
Now, as an undead player, that's not my favourite one.
Objectively speaking. And I don't get to play Dawn Attack that much because it's mostly tournament factors.
Yeah.
So to be able to play it, the rulebook ones, I enjoy that as well. And it makes you think because they're asking you to do different things. The objectives, some of them have got objectives, some of them haven't. What do you call it? The banner one, Blood and Glory. That's got an objective. We don't have Watchtower, but that is an objective. And others are just kill each other. So
yeah, no, I'm with you. I like the rulebook scenarios for the most part. It's a bit different than just playing the battle line or sort of people's custom scenarios. And the fact that it's sort of standard 100-point gap to win is cool.
Yeah, and more on that later, because having thought about one of my games, I would, if I'd made one slight change and not gone for something that I probably didn't need to go for, it might have been very different. But yeah, it does make you think, like, you don't need to go and annihilate everything. You just need to seize your points and then consolidate and just keep a hold of them, which is a different way to play it.
Mm. And I suppose we mentioned it, I think, on the preview, but also just another shout out that sort of the venue boards and swords just really look after us, and Triple Crown guys run just a fantastic event.
They do, and I was calling it swords and boards. It's actually boards and swords, but
naturally I call it the right name because it's just what I bring to the table.
What the corrective elements to it?
Yeah. That's just a rule.
Fortunately, yeah. Rules for gosh.
But chumps.
Yeah, they are. But they didn't have to buy £5,000 worth of bottled water this year.
Oh yes, I mean it was still disgustingly warm, but versus the previous visit, it was not that disgustingly warm that we thought we were dying.
It was warm and wet.
Which is the perfect combination.
Combination for a nerd-based tournament. Well, that could be misinterpreted. Anyway, yeah, so...
Warm, wet nerds. You heard it here first, people.
It's part of the appeal. Yeah, Boards and Swords. Great venue. It's sort of almost like a mini version of the Welsh one in that it's got a massive glass front but it's a lot smaller.
Yes. Yeah, they do well to have so many in a small space. They really do maximise their space. Bit tight upstairs, but like the guys who run it are ace, and it is a good venue, and they always put on a good event.
And it's right next to Warhammer World if you want to do two.
That is a bonus.
Yeah, do a bit of a visit. Anyway, the games. I think what in order it was Blood and Glory for game 1, then it was Battle Line for game 2.
Yep.
Battle for the Pass game 3. Dawn Attack for game 4 and Meet and Engagement game 5. No.
Nope. Meet and Engagement game 4. Dawn Attack game 5.
Yep, I'm wrong there. That's correct. Meet and Engagement game 4. Dawn Attack game 5.
So day 2, the worst possible back-to-back scenarios.
Yeah,
like,
if you were
it's like they did it to spiders.
If you were undead, you had to wait for all the pain till day 2. Yeah. But those are the two.
So it really helped you sleep well.
Look forward to that. So we don't need to go fully into the list, but just recap on what you took to Derby, and I'll do the same for what I took.
Yeah, so my Lord was a Strigoi Ghoul King. He was on with the Sword of Bloodshed for the +3 extra attacks, and the good old Dragonbane Gem, which comes as standard on a Ghoul King. Flying Horror, and a little bit, and Red Fury. So Flying Horror was the sort of the out there pick to let him be fully flexible against non-shooting lists, although that didn't happen. But also for long bomb charges, which is just a little sort of sneaky trick. Level 4 Necromancer on Law of Death. Level 2 Scroll Caddy on Vamps. Doom Banshee, who probably will be getting dropped when I use my VC. 40 Skeleton Warriors, 2 blocks of 40 zombies, a block of 20 zombies, 2 Direwolves, 2 units of 5 Direwolves, that is. 2 units of 5 Hex Wraiths, a Bat Swarm, a Spirit Host, a Vargluff, and my 2 favourite little bods, me 2 Terrorgeists, for a -2 comp score.
Gotta have them in.
Gotta have them. Big Dave and Little Dave.
Gotta name them as well.
Yeah, well, one's still got their spikes, and the other one's spikes are somehow embedded in my flesh, probably somewhere.
I think the same thing happened with Steve's Magma Dragon.
Magma Dragons deserve it, though.
Oh, that's
Steve,
horrendous. Horrendous. Well, mine was the slightly different one. So the general's a prince with a giant blade and Dawnstone. I had an Archmage on the Law of Shadow with the standard book and talisman. Sea Helm, 20 archers, 14 silver helms, 5 reavers, 40 Phoenix Guard, and then 4 bolt throwers and 2 great eagles.
Really different feel to your list, wasn't it, compared to your normal list?
It was different. I don't think I used it as well as I could have if I'd done any practice games with it.
Yeah, very different for you, though. So it's not a surprise that sort of you maybe didn't maximise the use of it like you might have otherwise.
I didn't do particularly well at Derby. However, I really like this list. So it's a bit hard to reconcile. Which we'll get into it. I mean, how did you feel just in general did you like your list or not?
I did, but it is a list that's very similar to what I tend to play with VC. Banshee did quite literally. I mean, not to spoil the summary of my games, but quite literally nothing. I don't think across the entire weekend. So that's 100 points of anything else would have been better. Frankly, like it was just a little bit crap.
Well, you know that now. You've play tested that. So.
Yeah. But that said, like the rest of the list performed pretty much exactly ish how I would expect. Like I'm not gonna lie, across the weekend we'll come on to them game by game, but the Big Dave and Little Dave, the two Terrorgeists, did what can only be described as some seriously heavy lifting across the weekend for the rest of the list.
Well, yeah, like, mine was. I did enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed taking cavalry. I enjoyed having a prince with a strength 7, well, the +3 strength sword. But using them was like, I'm not, because I always take all infantry lists or flyers, trying to relearn the cavalry game during a tournament, which I've done before, just with dragons or phoenixes. Wasn't ideal, but I still enjoyed it. So I've got mixed feelings about this list. And the 4 bolt throwers, as is standard, either did nothing at all in about 3 of the games, or apparently just couldn't miss in 2 of the games. So it was very swingy. And again, either the Silver Helms did nothing and just got shot, or they did something. There's no like middle way with a lot of these things, but we'll get onto that. But I did enjoy playing the list. I would take it again, but I probably would alter the Eagle Claw bolt throwers a bit. Probably drop them and take something a bit more reliable. I don't know what it will be, but anyway. So who did you play? Sorry, go on.
Phoenixes.
That's
your more reliable thing instead of your bolt throwers.
It is a lot more reliable, but then it's a lot more expensive.
Yeah. Guns are chumps.
Well, yeah. I mean, it sounds good, being able to dump 24 shots into something, but when you roll 23 2s and 3s, and you're hitting at long range, it's just gutting. Right. Yeah, Phoenix would have been handy now. So who did you play game 1?
Game 1, I played Jonathan and his High Elves, who now played, I think, 3 out of the last 4 tournaments we've both been to.
He keeps saying he wants to play me, and like, we've done it. It's been done. Did it at the first Cardiff.
Obviously, the draw was done prior, and it was nice. Like, I've never had a bad game at any event. Like, to be fair, that Triple Crown run, but going into the game, like, it was nice knowing I was like playing Jonathan, because it's always, like, say, the 3rd time we've played, and it's always a genuinely close and well played, well fought game. So yeah, we were battle line against High Elves, or the worst of the elves, depending on how you feel about it. I mean, not you, obviously. You
we'll
don't
have to
agree
cut
with that
that.
at all.
This is a pro High Elf podcast.
The most arrogant of the elves. Is that actually true? Anyway,
therefore the best.
The other elves, the lighter coloured elves that aren't hippies. Yeah, so played Jonathan's High Elves with an Arcane Phoenix, which is that sort of model you can see on the right hand side there, and it was very cool. Some funky rules, and the model that he's got for it and the paint job he's done, it was really nice. So yeah, it was a close game. We set up sort of, well, ended up being quite heavily to the right hand side of the table, as Jonathan had essentially bunkered down in the bubble that Alariel gives a bubble ward save, and then that stupid Phoenix thing gives bubble combat bonuses and like all sorts of crazy nonsense.
Did you have it dishing out Frenzy?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It didn't massively come into play, to be honest, but it did have that rule. And also, like we can see on the photo there, this was after Vanguard, so I'd got quite aggressive with me Hex Wraiths.
Oh yeah, look at them.
Yeah, really aggressive. Now, unbeknownst to me, he had upgraded his Phoenix to have magical attacks versus undead.
Who does that?
Well, Jonathan, just for me.
It's almost like you knew.
So, turn 1 starts, and like, Jonathan goes first, and that that Arcane Phoenix does this crazy 18-inch just in any direction move, in a straight line.
The Ember Storm.
That's the one. Ember Storms into me Hex Wraiths and wipes them out. I was like, cool. But that's not hugely what I was expecting, to be brutally honest. But that caught us by a little bit by surprise, to be honest, a little bit on the hop. But then I managed to sort of bring Terrorgeists round. They screamed off that Phoenix, as Terrorgeists are wont to do.
Yeah, it's got no save.
No, it has no. Phoenix. I mean, nothing. Yeah, unless it's got a ward, it doesn't. It has no right to stand up to my beautiful big bats. So that happened, and then I sort of started taking control of that right flank, and then the regular Phoenix put a charge into combat with the Terrorgeist, and that proceeded to be possibly the biggest whiff fest that the world has ever seen. It was absolutely nonsense, frankly. I think the Terrorgeist did eventually kill it, but it took turns and turns and turns, and that was with screaming at it every turn. It might have even killed the Terrorgeist in combat, and the other Terrorgeist screamed it off. Like, it was genuinely outrageous. Like, that Phoenix should have been dead quite quickly, and it frankly wasn't. Between the Lariel's bubble 10 LD10 and a bubble ward save, it was a hard army to shift. So Jonathan came forward aggressively once I'd killed that Phoenix, and we did meet in the middle of a bit of a sort of grind fest as that White Lion block that he's got there in the middle that you can see with a Lariel in it, and I believe another character. I just fed like zombies for the most part, to be honest, and it just took a while for him to grind through them. Meanwhile, I started taking out other bits and pieces, and this game massively swung essentially on one thing, and it was an incredibly close game. But I'm not sure if the next four was it at all. If I sent it to you, maybe he's not. The Vargulf got into his back lines. Now it went into I took out the unit with a banner at the back, which meant I had to kill one more unit with a banner, but that was either a Lariel, the White Lion block that I couldn't shift, or a block of stubborn Phoenix Guard, which is just never a treat. And I spirit leeched, so I stopped the main stubborn because I spirit leeched out Core Hill, which was just beautiful. Beautiful.
Textbook.
It was also the only thing that unit had with a magical attack, so I could then attack it with a Spirit Host. But anyway, they end up in combat with a Vargulf, and the Vargulf was on 2 wounds left. He did 6 wounds to the Vargulf, and I made all of my 4-up regen saves.
Was that the picture of the dice that you sent me?
Yeah. Yeah. I made all 6 regen saves. The Vargulf then attacks back, and does 6 wounds, I think it was, back to the Phoenix Guard. Jonathan then proceeds to make none of the 4-up ward saves. None at all. Which gives enough wounds that I win combat. He's then on a 10-up LD test, which he then proceeds to roll an 11 for.
He's good at that.
And I chase down and kill the Phoenix Guard, which means because of Blood and Glory, I won the game. I think it was about our turn 4. I think it was. It was a very, very good game. Very close. If it had been after Blood and Glory and you continue to just genuinely play it out, or you could break back like some of their scenarios are in the GT, I think there's a good chance he would have broke us back. But as it happens, I broke him on turn 4. I think it was anyway, and took the win. A really good game, and it was a good start, to be honest. On an aside, we then did have it didn't matter, but we had a Lariel versus a Ghoul King off. And just so everyone knows, the Ghoul King, despite the Lariel's 2-up ward save, the Ghoul King did kill her in 2 rounds of combat, despite the fact that she hits on 3s and does d6 wounds on 3s as well. But it didn't matter. The Ghoul King is the champion.
Yeah, because
take that High Elves and a Lariel. Incarnate Isha.
This is what you get for using end times characters.
Well, it's what you get for using that end times character. A different end times character had a different story at the event.
Yeah, because he's using
the medium-sized Lariel.
Yeah,
so
it's only a
Lariel the Incarnate Isha.
It's a -7 or 6.
Whatever. But she gives a 5-up regen. She hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, or something like that. Does d6 wounds to Force of Destruction. She is tasty. And she picks her spells however she wants at the start of a game from her selection. Rolls for them from the selection, sorry.
She dishes out, is it 12-inch ward save? 5-up ward save?
Yeah. So, tough game. Like, genuinely tough game. But it was a win for the VC. And deep down, everybody wants that.
Well, every VC player, maybe. Well,
let's be honest. The only good elf is a dead elf.
Yeah, we'll bleep that out. Unless it's a wood elf. I'm perfectly happy with that. Speaking of elves, my first game was against the Dark Elves.
Your favourite opponent?
Yeah. It's sort of like Dark Elves again, hooray! Every time I get drawn against them. But whatever. You've got to do it, I suppose. So this is how it's set up. There's a Witch Star there in the middle. That's a unit of Sisters of Slaughter, which you don't see very often. They've got
you don't see them very often, do you?
No, they've got a 4-up ward save in combat, and I think they negate ranks or something like that. They've got some thing that they can do. They're not as good as Witch Elves, and it's the same kit, which is probably why you never see them. That's a unit of Executioners right at the top there. He's got Crossbowmen in the forest and 1 bolt thrower. Marathi's there, and then there's my favourite Doomfire Warlocks, which you've vanguarded up. This is like I didn't know really what to do with the cavalry because I didn't want them to get anywhere near the Sisters because they've got the 4-up ward save in combat and the rank negation and stuff like that. I didn't fancy that, even though I've got 2-up armor. So I end up sending the Silver Helm buffs around this rock to sort of go see if they can come back, which they kind of do later on, but it doesn't really work. Shooting, I think I thinned down the cauldron a bit, but it's all the whole army's sort of pressing against the where the Phoenix Guard are. On the far side, you can just see the tray from my Reavers and his Dark Riders. They have a fight for 5 turns, which the Reavers eventually win. So that was going nowhere. Where's the next one? Oh yeah, that's it. So that eventually happens. The Witch Elves charge the Phoenix Guard. I'll make a huge error in he challenges with the BSB, and for some reason I don't know if I was smoking crack or something. I accept with the champion. Why on earth? Immediately I thought, why on earth have you done that? Because she kills him, and there's no I lose the combat, but I'm still steadfast. So, but I could have won that and broken that and turned around and faced the sisters that are coming the other way. So that one ludicrous decision probably cost me the game because these get whittled down. The Phoenix Guard get whittled down. The sisters sort of come round and attack them in the side. the dark shards get killed by the silver helms. But again, similar to what happens with Phoenix Guard in your game, they fail a leadership test.
Of course they do.
Of course they do, and break, and then that's me broken, and I'm off the board. And lose the game. Yeah, but there wasn't that many left. I think there's only like it gets down to like there's the mage, the BSB, and about 3 Phoenix Guards left, and then they get hit. Because if I defeated them at the start, or when I could have done it by refusing that challenge, there'd have been enough for them to turn around and take on whatever was left. But that was like one ludicrous decision, chain reaction throughout the rest of the game. So it wasn't a great start.
No.
I don't think the bolt throwers were that effective. The archers, as I remember, did more damage to the witches than the bolt throwers.
The archers are always your most destructive unit.
Yeah,
you just need to drop everything and just take an army.
Just take
archers.
2 hordes of archers, 2 50 archer blocks.
3, 4.
Yeah.
Shadow mage, laughing.
Shadow mage and a metal mage.
Yeah. There you go. There's your next list. You need to get a lot more archers and get them painted.
If I had any more, I've only got 30. If I had any more, I would use more. But yeah, I think I've got a mental block now when it comes to Dark Elves, and that I just think, well, I've lost this from the start. And when you just see that Cauldron and Marathi,
you really don't like coming up against the Witch Elf star, do you?
It's just, unless you've got life magic, or like I didn't have Fiery Convocation, I didn't have life. Because if I had life on this, that'd have been easy. Well, not easy, but it would have been a bit easier. Because you can just kill them before they even get anywhere near you. But they've got every advantage, and against High Elves in the first round, they've got no disadvantage. They're still getting rerolls on Hatred. They're still poisoned. They're still rerolling every wound. They only wound on 4s anyway. You've got the Chariot, which does impact attacks. And it's like, how do you get rid of that? Other than shooting it? Or 6 dice Fiery Convocation it?
Or you could just not accept the challenge with your champion and beat them.
Well, that would be or fight it in combat and not accept an idiotic challenge. You could do that. I don't know what I was thinking on there.
Well, still happy, yeah.
Yeah. There was another point of the game where I think it was a 7-inch charge to go into the Executioners with the Phoenix Guard. I probably should have done that, but I was thinking if they hold or I don't overrun enough, the witches will just be right into the flank of the Phoenix Guard. And I know I've got the BSB reform, but 1, you can always fail it, and 2, I can't move him out of combat, and he's worth 2, isn't he? Or is
no,
1 42 points? So he can't get out of combat. I can't protect them out of combat. There's going to be a load of attacks going into him, and he'll probably die. So I don't know. Maybe I should have done it and just risked getting a high enough overrun to get out of the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's always easy to second guess yourself afterwards, isn't it?
Well, or instantly afterwards when you say, why did you accept that challenge?
Yeah.
Not that that was the only thing I would have crushed the Dark Elves if I didn't make that decision. I was, it's Matt, so he's a very good player. But it's now I've got to beat him next because having just settled our previous vendetta from
he's now back.
Yeah, he's now back in the lead. So
not only that, but he's beaten you with Dark Elves.
Anyone can beat anyone with Dark Elves. They're just not that I'm bitter.
It's not his fault. He's now playing. He's joined you playing for Chammer. Okay.
I would never say that. People can use whatever army they want within the core rules.
They can use whatever they want, especially Derby because everyone's within +or -2. So there's clearly a balanced list.
It's when they bring in Monstrous Arcanum and End Time stuff. That's when I start having an issue. Anyway, it was a good game. It was marred by stupid decisions that I made without thinking.
It was a good game against Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, no, you were saying like it's nice that you know your first game is going to be good, and you're going to be playing someone that's fun to play against.
Yeah.
But he had no leverage over me this time because last time he had that Arcane Phoenix for us, which he held back until we'd finished the game. He had nothing on us this time. But anyway, yeah, that was a loss. It was, I forget what it was, but it wasn't like 100.
Doesn't make any difference, is it?
No,
doesn't make any difference.
You win or you lose, doesn't matter.
Derby.
So, game 2 was.
Game 2 was Battle Line.
Battle Line, it was, yeah. So that wasn't the entirety of your army, but
it wasn't. So game 2,
game
2. Again, this is after Vanguard. Game 2, I played against Scott with his Wood Elves. First time Scott and I played, and it was a really good game. Despite what can only be described as the war crimes he committed against us.
I think his list's a war crime, really.
His list is a war crime. So, this Wood Elf list, holy mother of God, it's got 2 units of Truthlight Blade Guard, a unit of Blade Guard that is +1 to wound, force of destruction, and a unit of Blade Guard that has arcane bodkins for minus armor. Not that makes any difference inherently. He then has 2 scouts with Hagbane, 2 blocks of 10 scouts with Hagbane, which is obviously poisoned attacks. He then has a unit of 20 Waywatchers. He then has.
I didn't know what a Waywatcher was before this tournament, and now I'm fully aware of what a Waywatcher is.
He then has 2 Eagles for the sacrificial lambs. He has then the Sisters of Twilight on Gwendolor, or whatever it's called, the Eagle, which makes them re-roll their missed shooting attacks, which is a treat. And bunkered right in the very centre of this absolutely beautiful yet disgusting army is Alariel, Incarnate of Life, who gives a bubble 4-up regen within 12 inches, is a Lawmaster Life, recovers a wound every turn that you take 1 offer, and also any other character within 12 inches with multi-wound recovers a wound.
It's not just characters, it's everything within 12 inches.
Yeah, so anything that's multi-wound, then sorry, yeah. Which is on top of her wound, so technically she can recover 2 wounds a turn.
Oh, yeah.
For clarity.
And
obviously.
She's life mage, so if there's any wounds left to heal up afterwards, she just has to cast them.
If you don't kill her in 1, you're not killing her. and for clarity, you're just not killing her. Okay? If there's any confusion how this goes, you're not killing her.
How did you defeat this list?
Well, I mean, this may not be a spoiler from when I said he committed war crimes against us, but I did not, in fact, defeat this list.
I'm shocked.
Genuinely, really good game. I was relatively pleased with how I managed against it, bearing in mind how it went. So, I got very aggressive with my vanguards, as you can see, because I was very conscious that I need to get close to them with as much as I can, as quick as I can, because everything's going to die when it's at range. And unfortunately, Scott got the first turn, which when I have 13 drops is not probably a surprise. Yeah. So, turn 1 starts, and the barrage of magical shooting begins. And in turn 1, Scott killed both units of Hex Wraiths, a unit of dogs,
good,
a spirit host, and put one of the Terrorgeists down to 1 wound, all in one. Which was just... Oh, to be honest, such a good guy. It was such a good game. I'd really cry about it. But it was a cracking game. So, that was turn 1. And the war crime begins, which is what it should really be paraphrased as. Then I just throw my Terrorgeists forward. I was like, well, they're going to get shot and killed really quickly anyway. So they go bombing up the board. My dogs move around forward, and then everything that can march essentially just marches forward into the barrage of shooting that's about to come my way.
It's like the killing fields you are walking into.
Oh, it's like the opening of Saving Private Ryan, where things just go forward to just die. So, yeah, that happens. Then something glorious does happen in my turn 1. I do manage to scream off one of the units of Glade Guard. The glorious thing is, though, that panics the Sisters of Twilight and they run off the board.
Oh, that's something.
Look, when you've had the horrendous damage that I had on turn 1, I'm taking anything as a moral victory, and that was certainly a moral victory. And panic continues to be my friend. 2 games in a row.
That's the thing. Elves guaranteed to fail leadership tests. They're not a high leadership army.
We then go into turn 2, and what is then added to the pile of death by magic bowfire is the Terrorgeist that was on 1 wound, unsurprisingly, although he did tank more damage than I've expected him to. So he dies, and my Vorgulf also dies. Bless him.
But he's not doing the Hail Mary save.
He is not. He had his moment in game 1. That moment was glorious, but short-lived. Because he was very much decimated in this, and I'd stupidly. Oh no, he wasn't shot. That's not true. I'd stupidly positioned him so the Wild Riders could have a charge at him.
Oh well,
which would have been fine, except they had the flaming banner.
Naturally,
which then became less fine when they killed him and then overran into a block of zombies with me level 2 mage in. So I burnt his dispel scroll really quickly, as you can imagine, before he died.
So that just dispelled, I don't know, drain magic.
Whatever it was, I can't remember what it was.
The woods or something.
So then my turn 2, which is the picture you can see there, Eagle starting shines. I've got a Terrorgeist in the back line now, so this is positive because this Terrorgeist's alive for a start. And at this point, this is when I actually did use the fact that my Ghoul King could fly, so I charged my Bat Swarms into that unit of Glade Riders you could see in the middle there. Glade Guard, sorry. He stood and shot at the Bat, naturally. I then charged my Ghoul King out of the unit. Which was beautiful with his fly in charge. He then proceeded to do. I think he went to combat. Where he did, the Ghoul King did 13 wounds in 1 round of combat.
That's going to be pretty near the limit of how many you can actually do.
Yeah, maximum you can do 16. However, of those 13, a large portion of them were then saved on Alariel's bubble 4-up regen, which I cannot begin to tell you was incredibly upsetting. There was some, like a couple of Glade Guard left, and they then and it was in a forest, so he was stubborn.
Oh yeah.
So I was hoping at this stage that he would have blitzed through them, to be honest, and overran into the unit behind. Because at this point, I actually thought I could salvage like a respectable. I was obviously massively losing. I could really push the respectability of it. Terrorgeist was starting to fly around and kill some stuff at this stage as well, which is beautiful. And then, to be honest, that is kind of what happens for the rest of the game to a point, in the fact that the Glade Riders kill those zombies. Exactly. Sorry, the Wild Riders kill those zombies, and then they overrun off in a direction. Them and the Way Watchers end up going into combat with me skeletons, just to, and they end up killing them. I kill the eagles. Me Ghoul King eventually, after more regen saves, kills a couple of units of Glade Guard. Terrorgeist screams off several more units of Glade Guard, / panics them off. At the end of the game, I had left my Ghoul King, a Terrorgeist, a Bat Swarm, and 1 unit of zombies. That said, all Scott had left at the end of the game was a fleeing unit of Scouts, a very heavily depleted unit of Glade Guard, 1 Eagle, I think, and Wild Riders, and that massive block of Way Watchers. So I didn't say all, there was quite a lot left. It was a solid win to the Wood Elves, but a genuinely good game. And Scott's list is legitimately horrific.
It's hard to get points off Wood Elves.
It's a terrible matchup for VC anyway, because all of their shooting is magical, so they can just kill all of your ethereal stuff very easily. And they can pick on the things that matter. But that all said, me Ghoul King did well, and me Terrorgeist, the Terrorgeists, although one of them died in turn 2, it did a trick for us.
The other one,
great game.
The other one, pick up the slack.
Oh, yeah, did I? Yeah. I mean, only between the Terrorgeist, essentially the Terrorgeist and the Ghoul King killed everything that was killed. The zombies might have killed 1 unit in combat, otherwise nothing else killed anything. Although having the Bat Swarms give always strikes last, so therefore me Ghoul King went first, was a treat, to be honest.
Oh, that helped.
That's a nice combo. But yeah, like, it was always going to be a challenging game. If I'd have managed to steal the first turn, I'd have been much more positive, but I didn't, so it's irrelevant.
So you just got shot.
Like I said, I'd taken off so much before I even got to have a turn. It was outrageous. It's a really well put together list. Alariel, the Incarnate of Life, is disgusting. In this kind of list, and Scott plays it very, very well. It was a really good game, really challenging game, but I did very much enjoy it despite the loss. It was very good.
Excellent.
That all said, if anyone could just avoid drawing me against that kind of list again in the future, that would be a treat.
Well, unlucky that this is the new meta. Well, speaking of end times characters, my second game, I was playing Gelt's incarnate version against the Empire. So this was just straight battle line, wasn't it? So yeah, I think he had a bus of Empire Knights, a big block of great swords, a big block of halberdiers, the Hurricanum, a steam tank, some outriders, a cannon, and then Gelt himself. I had no idea what Gelt did, which I found out during this game. So I move everything up because I think, well, might as well be aggressive with this. And then he teleports 3 units off the board with these crucible thing. Like, whoa, what's going on here? So yeah, you can just pick up himself and 3 units off the board.
It doesn't even have to be him. It can just be D3 units. Is it D3 units? I think it is.
It's D3, yeah.
Yeah.
This is this bound spell he's got. So even if he might have miscast it, or I might have just, I don't know. I can't remember letting him do it or just miscasting it or just failing. I can't remember how, but he did it in the first turn anyway. So he takes the unit of great swords, the unit halberdiers, Gelt, and I think he takes the knights off. So there's literally nothing. I'm not.
Yeah, they take D6 wounds, don't they?
Yeah. So when they come back on, they will take D6 -1 wounds when they come back. Yeah,
which is fine when you've got hordes of great swords and halberdiers.
Yeah, that's fine. So in my phase, I've got very little to shoot at, so I think I should take a few shots at the outriders who don't panic. I might take a wound or two off the steam tank with a single shot bolt thrower just to try and make it explode. And then there's nothing really for me to do. So where are we here? Oh, right, that's a bit later on, so I'll keep on this one. But in his turn, you can just teleport on, and it happens before the charge phase, so you just drop anywhere you like and declare a charge. So the Phoenix Guard are in the middle of the board, and he drops these halberdiers in the flank of them. He drops the great swords and the knights next to my silver helm bus, I think, and he drops Gelt by the bolt thrower by these ruins at the bottom. Well, I think, well, that's interesting. So I've lost the silver helms because they're not going to stand up to Empire Knights and great swords charging them. But I think, well, the Phoenix Guard will be all right because even if he's in the flank, I'll just reform and they should be able to handle the halberdiers. So that's pretty much what happens. I'm sure he does charge the silver helms because that's like a... Yeah, I think he does. Well, anyway, the silver helms end up dying or running off or something like that. They're not very impactful in the game. The Phoenix Guard just turn around and murder all of the halberdiers. And then,
as they do.
Yeah, and then because of that, they can turn around and charge the great swords in the next turn. The Eagle and the Reavers, I think they go around the top. I think they either charge the outriders or shoot them off the board, and then they go into the cannon. So I've got rid of some of the stuff coming at us, which it's not that important with no phoenixes, but it is, I still want rid of the cannon and that. The both of the crew get charged by Gelt, but they managed to do a wound on him, which is 2 seconds. So they managed to do a wound on Geld. They say, "Oh, hooray!" They don't kill him, but it's a moral victory.
Indeed.
So that's going quite well. Which I think when we're up to here. So that's what's left of the greatsword. The Phoenix Guard going at the side of them. He eventually decides, I think it must have been about turn 4 or 5. He decides to, because I didn't know you could do this, you just teleport them out of combat. I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't know you could do it out of combat, to be honest.
Yeah, just to save the points, but I think it was a brilliant idea because you can preserve the points and put them somewhere that you kind of get to. Yes, that's what them. So because they're stubborn, he just keeps them in a 2 depth formation because it doesn't matter. They're still testing on their stubborn leadership. So I can only get what was it 4, 8, 12. I'm going to get 16 hits into them. But I'm quite lucky that they whittle them down. He puts the warrior priest in there because he's got a 1-up or 2-up armor, but they just kill them, which normally you would expect them to last a bit longer than that with a 1-up armor, but they kill them in 1 turn. So that's just getting whittled down. Pulls them out of combat, and when they come back in, I think he just kills off most of his remaining units by rolling badly with the D6 wound thing. So the great swords all die when they try to teleport back out. The Hurricanum takes a couple of wounds. The steam tank, it's coming towards me archers, but I just charge them and think, well, I'll probably cast Mind Razor, which does happen. So they kill the steam tank. So I think by the end, all he's got left is Gelt himself, the Hurricanum, I think some Empire Knights, because I'll probably just try to shoot the rest of them with a bolt thrower. So that ends up with a win. I think it was like 300 or 400 points difference. But
solid,
interesting.
Yeah, end times. I mean, all the end times characters should never be allowed back because the end times didn't happen.
Well,
as you know,
point A, yeah, it's just fan fiction. The end times,
but Gelt is wild. He's not as broken as like some of the others, but his special ability to take off units is just mental.
But the fact that it's before the charge phase happens, you just drop them behind, and you can just do what you want, charge into the rear of anything. You can't. The only thing that can counter that is the Sea Helm that I can think of.
Yeah.
Because if you get 50 greatswords into the rear, there's not much you can do about that.
No, that's fair. There's not a lot you can do about that.
You can test. Yeah, I can try and survive and reform in the next phase if there's anything left of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a learning experience. He's not as bad as Alariel, I don't think.
No, and you can just shoot him because he has to be by himself. And only has a 3-up ward against shooting, but it is only a 3-up ward.
And I don't think he's got anything in. Well, he's got his mounted save, hasn't he?
For combat,
yeah.
if you get into combat with him, he just dies.
But had I not had a Sea Helm, I don't know how.
You might have been screwed.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do. You just have to give up that unit. But that's the army. That's like 900 points right there. But
that's a lot of points for one unit.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's the way to play it. But
that was the common trend in a lot of armies that had one block that I struggled to shift. That was a lot of points.
But that's a good counter to it. I'll just drop in this unit behind it, and it's not nice.
Feel like you're bullied off Gelt.
Well, now I know.
Over there, taught them some magic, and
now
they screwed you over.
Now they think they're the best. But it was a learning experience. This was against Tim, so it was a good game because he's
Tim's good, really good guy.
Good guy to play.
Yeah, he is.
But he was unlucky in that he could, if he'd saved the great swords, if he hadn't rolled a 6 and killed them all. I mean, that would have been a big swing in points. Because I mean, he got all the bolt throwers. Did he get the? I can't remember if he got the BSB, but he had a fair few points. And if he'd taken them out, then I can't get them. He could teleport them to the other side of the board behind some rubble, and they just be, you kind of get them in turn 6. They just save points. He was just unlucky on his rolls. I think that's how the knights died as well. I think they were teleported off.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Gelt, as you do it, if once your troops get smaller, your units get smaller, you do run that risk of killing them, and it's a tricky one with knights because one of their strengths, their amazing armor save, but they don't get that because
they just die.
They just take D6 wounds. Yeah. But I mean, it's amazing for your ability to use on hordes of great swords and halberdiers, etc. Though that can just soak D6 wounds quite merrily.
Yeah, they weren't bothered by it because it happened when he first did it. And so because they'd been through a lot of combat, and that there was just enough for them to die to D6 -1. So I can't. That's not strategy on my part. That's just luck. Yeah, I mean that's the thing to do. Yeah. I that's the thing to do. Keep them side on.
Better lucky than good, Mark.
There's a motto. But anyway, that was a win. But it was a good game. It was an interesting game because it's
different. It's a real different setup against someone like Gelt, isn't it? Because it's so different to play.
I get it. Because if I'd had no Sea Helm, I'd have been finished. I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah. That's fair.
So game 3 was Battle for the Pass.
Game 3 was Battle for the Pass.
And there is a Battle for the Pass.
There's a Battle for the Pass. Again, this is after Vanguard. Is it after Vanguard? I think it is. Yeah, it is. After Vanguard. So I was playing Adam and his Dark Elves, and it was a really... similar to yourself, it was a very different list than what he would normally run. He had... This is wild. 3 blocks of 10 Dark Riders.
Yeah.
A block of 10
Cold
Warlocks,
ones.
obviously.
Oh, Warlocks, yeah. Can't leave home without them.
Then a block of cold ones with a BSB character in there. He then had a block of 21-ish executioners. He then had a level 4 sorceress, I think on death, on a black dragon. Like, kudos for that. That's awesome.
It was death.
It was that, yeah. I mean, legend. And his general was a hero character on a Pegasus, which is the one you can see sort of up in the left near the down from the Brolocks. It's actually on like almost a Werven looking thing, but it's actually a dark Pegasus. So really quite a different list and just very, very mobile for the most part.
It's almost like pseudo avoidance, isn't it? Except it's got a big combat block and the cold ones.
Cold ones, and like to be fair, again, like appreciate it's almost sound like a broke record, but cracking game. Like Adam's a friend. But we played a few times. We always have an absolute blast, and this was absolutely no different. It was wild. So I think I went first, and started a bit of maneuvering, moving things up. Got a little bit cheeky with me spirit host and sort of marched them forward a little bit. Like repositioned me troops to maybe be a bit more useful. And then I proceeded to miscast and kill my level 4 wizard.
Well, that's
sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. That was turn 2 of mine. Turn 1, I miscast and give everyone who could channel took a strength 6 hit. And then turn 2, he miscast again and died, went down the hole. So, had magical superiority to Adam in on turn 2, which was a treat. But then it was operation, getting to combat and whatnot. So, we continue to sort of hold the lines a little bit with, I maneuver me Hergeist around a little bit and move forward with the Spirit Host again. The dogs sort of die. He kills things from range, etc. I managed to charge that unit, bottom unit of Hex Wraiths that you can see there. That they turn 1 they make a charge at the those Dark Riders there. And he flees, and then he ends up double fleeing anyway. And I don't catch him. Then turn 2 he rallies and I charge him again with the Hex Wraiths. And he has to hold, otherwise he's going to run off the board because of the angle. So eventually the Hex Wraiths do kill that unit, but it took far, far longer than it should have, considering he can't hurt me. Okay, so then something that ended up being glorious happened. The Spirit Host, I think it was, charged the unit of Dark Riders up at the top. Eventually, obviously we've maneuvered around, etc., etc. This is turn 2 or 3, I think. Spirit Host charges them. They flee. Spirit Host chooses to redirect into his general on the Dark Pegasus. He has to then hold, because if he flees, unless he rolls double 1, he'd be off the board. And I was like, I charge, so maybe he'll hold him for a couple of turns. Turns out his general did not have a magical attack. And what was glorious is that eventually that said general dies, and the Spirit Host has taken all of the credit. Now, some people may argue that something else joined them in combat, like whatever. It was all down to that Spirit Host.
I think I saw this.
It was hilarious. Yeah, we were on the table next to one another, weren't we, at this stage? Yeah. This whole game was hilarious, and it really swung. Like, early game, started well for us. Then I miscast on me wizard and died, and then Adam really started to put the pressure on with magic dominance. Tried throwing out some spirit leeches, which frankly against me I thought was rude.
Get your own trademark. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I am not here to be spirit leeched. I am here to spirit leech. I mean, I'm not, because I've managed to miscast and kill me wizard in turn 2.
That's the only reason he could do it.
On principle, though, how dare he? At one point, the sorcerer on the dragon even goes into combat with a Terrorgeist and kills the Terrorgeist in combat. When I say the Black Dragon's breath weapon kills the Terrorgeist in combat.
Ah, yeah.
But I thought it was a ballsy play. But yeah, so the bold ones end up going into combat and sort of decimating a unit of zombies eventually. But then the the Banshee just then comes out and sort of acts as chaff, which is about the best thing she did all weekend.
You were slating her before.
We actually she's still done nothing. Like a bit chaff for 95, a chaff character for 95 points. That's almost twice as much as a spirit host. But that did give the chance to the Hexerith that eventually killed those Dark Elves came back and went backwards, and then eventually they killed off the gold ones as well. To be honest, the Terrorgeist that was still alive ended up killing his wizard as well later on in the game. The spirit host killed his general. That's hilarious. But at the end of the game, I'd lost quite a lot. He'd lost quite a lot. It was a brutal game. Like I say, early doors started well, then really swung in Adam's favour, then came back in my favour, and eventually it finished with a victory to the VC. Sorry, my memory's a little patchy. It's been a couple of weeks.
That's the important bit, though, isn't it?
But yeah, it was a cracking game. Swung both ways on multiple times. Like Adam's always like hilarious guy to play. It was a really interesting list. But yeah, no, I came out with the win. It was good. I'm not sure if the highlight of the highlight was absolutely the spirit host killing his general. Closely followed by how ballsy he went with his sorceress on level 4 sorceress into combat with the Terrorgeist and then just breathed it to death. And I was like, oh, bollocks.
Unexpected.
It was unexpected, but it was a cracking game. It was a really good game and a really nice way to finish day one. It was good. And I've been fortunate, I feel like I say this a lot, but I've been fortunate to have 3 really great games for game one, for day one. Like 2 wins and a loss, but 3 brilliant games.
Well, this was Battle for the Pass, wasn't it?
It was.
So naturally, I drew Dwarfs for Battle for the Pass.
Strong.
So why not? This is one of the strangest games of Warhammer I've ever played. In that, I don't think I did anything wrong, or it went perfectly, and I still lost.
Yeah, at one point I looked across at you on this table and I thought, "Whoa, this is a one." Your game was incredibly quick.
Yeah.
But 2, I was like, "Oh my god, that looked like a massive victory to the High Elves at one point."
So it's Battle for the Pass. So the dwarfs all deploy there. There's flame cannon on the far right hand side there. That's a block of Longbeards, I think, on the other side of it. They're cross quarrelers in front of the tower. There's a grudge thrower behind that. There's a cannon in the tower, and then there's these generals unit, which I don't know if they're not hammerers. They might be iron breakers, and then a organ gun next to it, and then he's got a gyro bomber and a gyrocopter. And right, well, you've got to cross the gap. I've played dwarfs enough. You've got to cross the gap as quickly as possible and hope there's enough left at the end to fight them and hopefully win. So I kill the gyrocopter because that's what I'm concerned about with the templates. Because if you let them get into your back line, they're just a pain to get rid of. So I managed to kill the gyrocopter with either archers or the repeat the bolt throwers. They're sort of behind the army here. So that's quite good. He then, in his turn, he misfires on his flame cannon, and that can't attack. That's like
Nice.
can't fire this turn. So that's gone well. The grudge thrower misses completely. This is going pretty well. And I moved the eagle and the night bus up. I think, well, move them up and we'll decide what we'll do with them later. I've cast Mystifying Miasma on the crossbowman to get the ballistic skill down to 0. It's the only time I've ever rolled higher than a 1 consistently on that spell in the entire time I've used Shadow Magic. His bomb and run fails with the gyro bomber. I think I take it down to 1 or 2 wounds. So that's going well. This is going really quickly. So these continue to move up. So I don't think I managed to fire off Pit of Shades. I've got Pit of Shades. I think I might have Mind Razor as well. I can't remember what my spells are, but I don't think I managed to get Pit of Shades off if I've got it. So I'm just shooting into the Quarrelers, and they thin down a bit. His general's unit charges my general's unit, and he makes it on a 10-inch, like a roll that needs a 10 on dice, and he makes it. But, well, this is interesting. So they just run through the Silver Helms. They murder them. The Eagle gets into a combat with the organ gun. But the general's unit sort of keeps moving down towards where my bolt throwers are. The Eagle on the other side and the Reavers start going into the flame cannon, and the Phoenix Guard will move further up with this. Well, what's left is this angle between the Quarrelers and the Longbeards. The general's unit, I just shoot out all the bolt throwers into it, and I managed to strip it down to the panic barrier with the last one hitting on 6s, and he fails it, and he runs off the board with his general's unit. I thought, well, that's unexpected on Dwarven Leadership 10. That's gone pretty well. The Eagle kills the organ gun and goes into the cannon. I think this has gone pretty well, actually. So the Phoenix Guard eventually charge into the Quarrelers, and I think there's about maybe 15 of them left at this point. And this is where the second big reverse goes horribly wrong here. Because in about... Oh, no, is there something in front of them? No, I think did something move in front of it? I don't think so. Well, anyway, they do something like 36 attacks, and that converts into 4 wounds.
Oh my god.
Which is horrific. So the Longbeards then go at the side of the Phoenix Guard. I'm sure this happened all in one go. I'm sure that's an overrun. Yeah, that's right. No, it can't have been. I thought I'd overrun.
This is why we tried doing the recording earlier, because clearly we barely got any idea what happened anymore.
What happens. I thought I'd overran into the... Yeah, I did, because I think I charged. He moved his engineer out, and I think I charged the engineer, overran into the Quarrelers. That's what happened. So I killed the engineer, overran into the Quarrelers. And then he charged the Longbeards into the side of the Phoenix Guard in his turn. But I thought, well, that should be fine, because I should do enough damage. So yeah, 36 attacks into the Quarrelers, and I do 4 wounds. And then he does something like, I don't know, 15 wounds back to me, and I fail every single ward save. And so now I'm disrupted. Minus, and it's gone from, well, this is going to be easy to, I need a double 1, and that whole unit explodes. So that wasn't great. I killed the rest of the artillery, I think. But at that point, that's gone from like win to loss. And I'm thinking back, when I thought back on it, or at the time, I was thinking, if you just reform, you can just take the 2 charges to the front, and you should be all right. But I was thinking in that 20-0 mode, when I killed the engineer.
Yeah.
So I thought,
That's
no,
the trick, isn't it?
but I thought it's 36 attacks. They're all thing. I should be all right, even on combat. Even if I'm disrupted, I should be all right on that. No, as a matter of fact, no. So that's a lesson about it being a dice game. But up until that point, up until the point where it had a catastrophic failure, it's probably the best way I've played, just with picking off the stuff that's going to be annoying, able to get you fast stuff into the artillery very quickly. It was lucky that he failed to hit in turn 1, and his flame cannon betrayed him. But it's gone really, really well until that critical point, and you've lost. So that was interesting.
That's at least I saw bits of this game, and I was stunned at the end when I turned around and went, how was that? And he went, I lost. What?
Yeah, if I'd reformed when I killed the engineer and pointed them so they're both in the front, I probably would have been all right. On the other hand, you don't expect just to get 4 wounds through from 36 attacks.
No, what, hitting on 4s with a reroll?
It's 3s because it was
3s,
going in.
sorry.
3s the reroll, wound on 4s.
And then 4s to wound. That is appalling odds.
And then, just like when you're saying what Jonathan did with his Phoenix Guard, just failing all the ward saves. Well, that's the end of that then.
Yeah.
But it's a dice game. You can't account for that.
No, that's the reality of the situation. What makes it hilarious and frustrating.
Yeah, because I thought I would have lasted at least a turn, and then kill them and reform. But no, just kill 4 of them, so you can't reform anyway.
Yeah,
that's how it goes. And and that was the where is that? I don't think I've put it on actually.
that was all she wrote about that.
Yeah, I did have another photo of it somewhere, but I don't know where I've put it. So there's another excellent planning. I'll find it here. But yeah, that was. It was a great game, and it was full of swings because when he killed my general, oh, that's annoying. And then later in my turn, I killed his general by shooting him. Shooting, they're saying the bolt throwers they do nothing. They killed an entire unit of whatever they were. I think they were Ironbreakers and the Dwarf Lord. And that I was playing Dave Chilton. He said, "Oh yeah, you've just won there, I think." I'm like, let me tell you, that's not.
Hold your horses there, Dave.
I can one up that.
You hold me beer. I've got this.
So yeah, that was the bad decision there. Where are we?
But again, to be fair, once again, Dave is a great opponent to play, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's such a good guy.
Yeah, it was a fun game. It was unexpected. There was twists and turns. Look at that. They should have easily been able to kill them.
You just couldn't make that up, though, could you? That's the point. You couldn't make it up, and that's what makes this game hilarious.
Yeah, you can't account for things like that. But,
no, you really can't.
But yeah, it was a loss. But I'm not saying I didn't mind, but there's literally nothing I could do about it. Arguably, yes, I should have just reformed, but I should have been doing more than 4 wounds.
Yeah. So that's been end of day 1. Loss, win, loss.
Yep, loss, win, loss. So all to play for in day 2.
Day 2 after the wildness of Derby Evening.
Or Cardiff 2, as we might call it.
Cardiff of the Midlands.
I didn't realise
savagery invades England.
I had no idea Derby was such a savage place.
No, that evening was just outrageous. And we were party to something I've never seen before or imagine we'll see again on that Saturday evening.
Well, I've never seen someone propose to someone in an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah, that's the one.
I mean, that's a Derby first there.
Derby first. So in a buffet, which was very, very busy. Good fun. There was a big chunk of us went out, wasn't there? Was there about 20 people at the end?
I think it started off with it would be 12, and then it was 15, then it was 20, and then they just kept adding it on.
Out of the 34 people plus the TC guys, so out of 37 people, almost half of us went to this all-you-can-eat buffet place, and let me tell you, it was savage. Savage.
They got a savage queuing system as well.
Yeah, the queuing system was insane. The place was very, very busy. The food was pleasant. But yeah, we were party to someone proposing an all-you-can-eat buffet. And I'm just not sure what more I can add to that would make it any more or less believable / outrageous. Other than to say, I was quite taken aback.
I think, congratulations to the happy couple if they're listening to this.
Congratulations to the happy couple.
Yeah.
Well, if this is the peak of your life, then frankly, just go kill yourselves now.
Up a mountain, on a lake, all places to propose, but no. In the back room of an all-you-can-eat
buffet in Derby.
While people are moving past with plates full of pizza and whatever, you just make your girlfriend the happiest woman.
Absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
Wow.
We give Cardiff grief, but that's never happened in Cardiff.
People don't propose in Cardiff, they still just bonk people on the heads and carry them off to their caves.
And that was a Wetherspoons where I've never seen every single customer on drugs.
God, yeah.
Every single one
I've
was on
seen so many people under 20 nearly high as a kite.
Under 16 by the looks of it.
Like, they were young, they were high, and had the rest of their lives to live.
They're chewing their faces off at one point. It's when you see like 4 lads go to the toilet, like that's that's clearly drugs. 4 lads go to the toilet
together and they all come back jumping around.
Yeah, bouncing. Yeah.
With a runny nose. Yeah.
Good work, Derby.
Good work, Derby.
Probably
you were keeping the underage drug addicts going.
Penned up.
This is why I now know why that last year they searched people going into Pop World, because clearly that town is full of absolute raging lunatics on an evening who are just coked to the eyeballs and barely legal.
Well, we probably didn't realise last year because we were too drunk, but since we didn't really repeat last year's debacle.
No, there was no repeat of last year's disgrace.
It was more obvious. Yeah.
Yeah. Wild. What a wild place. That Wetherspoons was just insane.
Both nights as well. Like, did we get there about 5:20 on the first night?
On Friday,
and it was absolutely rammed.
It was even. Although it turns out though that I think it's only a big drug night on a Saturday.
So you heard it here first. It's the Splitfire drug cast.
Yeah, but if you're anywhere near Derby and you want a place to go get absolutely off your face, evidently, here to go.
That's 100% what to do.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, good night.
Yeah. So after that, we didn't do any drugs, but
no, we did not. We just passed social commentary, then got a Uber back to the digs.
Yeah. Which was left us refreshed for day 2.
Day 2.
Which was starting off with meeting engagement.
So, game 2, meeting engagement. Day 2, game 4, meeting engagement. What do I say about this game? First of all, played Tom. Good sport, good guy. Played the game well. I, however, started playing the game well, then in about turn 5, did probably the stupidest thing I've done in an event for years. So, we'll get to it shortly. It was awful. Kicking myself now for it. So starting off the board was both Terrorgeists, a unit of zombies, the Vargulf, the Banshee, and me Bat Swarms.
How did you do that?
Rolling lots of ones. It's a skill I have playing this goddamn scenario.
It's a good thing it doesn't affect you too much being undead.
Oh, yeah. However, I shan't complain too much because I then rolled a 6 to steal first turn.
Oh, that's all right.
Which is glorious. And as you can see, everything that was then reserved came onto the board and could then move as well. I also charged the dogs into the Hellblaster before it could unload on us. The Interrogates both moved forward and screamed the Demigris down to one person. So Tom's list there, you can see where those dogs are on the picture in the middle. That was a Hellblaster. To the left of that is some crossbowmen, the Demis, more crossbowmen, the block of knights, a Hurricanum, and a Luminarch, and then a big block of greatswords with various characters in. Except a couple of these characters started off the board as well, including his general, which holds his knight block up while they wait for the general to come and join them. So early game was truth be told, was just absolute undead dominance. For the most part, essentially flooded up the left flank there that you can see, screaming things off the board to my heart's content, whilst being chaffed up by crossbowmen who charged a unit of Hex-Race in the flank and then continued to keep them in combat for nearly 3 turns.
Oh, they're doing the best High Elf Archer impression.
It absolutely was. We then Terrorgates end up swinging around after killing everything on the left-hand side of the board, whilst I fed the Night Block, a unit of zombies, eventually screamed off the Night Block, which left just essentially the Hurricanum and the Greatsword block with a level 4 wizard, a level 4 wizard, a BSB, and a priest in there. And there was a lot of greatswords, 40 greatswords. It was a lot of points. However, it was then about turn 5 that I did. Tom's dice, however, were horrific. Horrific. And I would have felt bad for those dice if it weren't for the fact that instead of feeling bad from and winning, I positioned my Vargulf in such a way that he could charge it with his horde of greatswords, butcher it, and then overrun into me general's bunker the turn after, which he then proceeded to do, and then kill me general.
Why did you do that?
Well, one can only assume it's because I'm an idiot. Yes, that photo there is what became of my general after managing to put the Vargulf in such a way that he could overrun.
So
the minute I moved the Vargulf, when you move something, step back, move on, turn around, look at the board, and think, "Oh my sweet baby Jesus, what have you done, you blithering moron?"
Yeah.
And then, to be fair to Tom, he proceeded to punish that because at this stage I was comfortably winning. Then he killed me Lord, me General, and I was very much not comfortably winning anymore.
Did that turn things about?
Oh, very much so. Big swing. But look, it was so then naturally after that I then lost this game. I managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
Been there, done that.
Good game. Should have been a comfortable win for the VC, and wasn't. And hats off to Tom for playing the last few turns very, very well and earning the victory. Don't get us wrong; it wasn't just by my rank stupidity, but my rank stupidity was very much the turning point. But look, you win some, you lose some. But it was a good game once again. Tom's a good guy, played well, absolutely capitalised on my stupidity, and sort of hats off to him for doing so. But yeah, I was quite. I don't mind losing, but I was comfortably annoyed with myself for losing because I'd done something really stupid.
I was racking up those incidents.
Yeah, essentially, I saw you do something stupid, and I thought, well, if that's how we're going to play it.
Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. I'm in. Oh, good lord.
Well, speaking of bad dice, I played Jim's vampire counts on this. I don't have a lineup picture. I don't know why. Anyway, so I get the deploy first thing, and the Phoenix Guard decide not to turn up.
That's wrong.
But they're the only ones that don't.
Yeah.
That's not really much of a problem.
Rookie numbers.
Yeah. Only 1-1. Jim's Black Knight bus decides not to turn up, which probably was the start of his woes on this. So I deploy you can't really see it, on the opposite side of like the narrow board edge. I just put all my bolt throwers there. I don't know if the next picture might be a better one, actually. No, it's not. There's a wood in the middle where I put my archers. The Silver Helms go next to this forest, and I think I'll just slide the Phoenix Guard when they come on, like next to them. He's got his wall of three zombie units in front of the two Terrorgeists, and then he's got these characters. He's got a vampire level 2, I think, character. He's BSB, who's a White King.
Yeah, in his big night bus.
It's supposed to go on the night bus, but they don't turn up, which is
strong.
Which is an issue.
This goddamn scenario for undead.
Yeah, it's not the best, is it? So anyway, the Terrorgeists sort of fly up and down here by the rubble. They're going for me general night bus there, but he lands them just out of 8 inches, so they can't attack on the first turn.
Because they're not get within 8 inches.
They couldn't get, they couldn't have done it. It was just like, it was 7.5 or 7.6 or something like that when we mentioned it.
Oh.
But anyway, so the Phoenix Guard go up. How do I do that? Yeah, I think in the end, this is a bit later on in the battle. The knights are positioned in such a way that I can go through the forest and clip one of the Terrorgeists. So I go through there, and I think I lose one wound off the prince and 1 silver helm. So that was lucky. So they kill that Terrorgeist. The Phoenix Guard are just chewing through these zombies. The both those are either on or off, and they were definitely on here. So he brings his night bus round to sort of go for the. I think he's aiming towards the archers in the middle. The hex wraiths that he's got are just coming towards the bolt throwers. Like, well, I've lost them because there's nothing I can do about them. So just shoot whatever's the highest value stuff for as long as possible, and try and get some points out of them. They just lay waste to the night bus, and his rolling was absolutely horrendous. I think they made. Well, I don't think they made any armor saves from the wounds that were made. So the night bus is almost completely wiped out, and all that's left is, I think it's 1 knight, which must be the champion, and the 2 characters. And I think one of the characters is on 1 wound. So eventually he charges the bolt thrower, which is next to me, archers, and because it's in an obstacle, you've got to take a dangerous terrain test, which he fails both of. So the unit is wiped out, charging a bolt thrower, and the character dies as well. So there's like, he's just lost 300 points to charge a 70-point bolt thrower. It turns around, I think he kills the archers with that. Meantime, the Phoenix Guard reform here and go into the side of this zombie bus here. There's a Terrorgeist, or will be a Terrorgeist on that side. So when they go through that, they overrun and get the next Terrorgeist. So I've got rid of the 2 Terrorgeists.
Oh, no.
He pops the Necromancer out to save him from in this block of zombies up here. So I kind of get him because of the way the terrain is.
Yeah.
But his dice rolling was absolutely horrendous. And when he failed the 2 dangerous terrains, I said, go and buy some new dice now. Because they've clearly abandoned you and they're not coming back. So there we go. So they reformed there, passed all the dangerous terrains again. I think I rolled something like 28 dangerous terrain tests and failed 2, and he rolled I don't know how many armor saves and dangerous terrain tests and failed them all. So I got into the Phoenix Guard there, Mind Razor's on there, so that Terrorgeist is about to die. I could go into the next, charge them, kill the zombies off. There's not much left at the end, and like it's dice, isn't it?
Look, they are what they are, aren't they? It goes when it goes.
But it's just it was like compounding stuff on top of stuff. Like they're hitting on 4s or whatever, wound on 4s. I was getting loads of wounds, and then he just couldn't pass. And I don't think he passed an armor. I maybe passed 1 on the Black Knight bus. So the bolt throwers just got rid of them for the most part. And then I think he had I think it might have been his White King character left, his BSB. But the vampire died. I didn't get the Necromancer. Pretty much everything else was dead. It's another thing, I was saying the Silver Helms didn't really do anything except when they did, which sounds obvious.
Yeah.
But in here, he sliced up a Terrorgeist pretty much by himself, no problem. Phoenix Guard have got Mind Razor on, so that's not going to be a problem for them. It was just placement. Like I thought the Knights were going to get gummed up because they've got the Phoenix Guard to one side, which have been funneled into these 3 blocks of zombies. And then they've got this forest here, which is, you don't want to charge cavalry through a forest, but I had no other choice really. Otherwise, they would just sat there and do nothing. They got charged by a block of zombies in the picture beforehand, but I was able to kill the zombies that the Phoenix Guard were fighting, turn around, go on the side of them, and then overrun into the Terrorgeist here. So I was like, well, it's only this is why I did play the mission, sort of like, well, it doesn't.
Hey.
Yeah, I've got to save. I'd rather use the Phoenix Guard to save me general and his unit than go for more points because I think I'm ahead on points anyway.
Yeah.
And it turns out if you play the mission, it goes well. But what I was afraid of is if he just charged those 3 blocks of zombies into the Phoenix Guard, they'd have been pinned forever. And he got unlucky with, well, not really unlucky, but I knew he got Raised Dead. And I knew the only spell I was bothered about was Raised Dead because that would be blocking the Phoenix Guard's ability to do anything, or the Knights. So I was letting everything else go and just bombing everything and just stopping Raised Dead, which means I could still maneuver about. Like if they move 8 inches towards me, I'm not that bothered too much because he's given out leadership 10, so the Terrorgeist effect is not that devastating.
Yeah, you've got to do some big rolls to impact an LD10.
Yeah, I think he did kill some with it eventually. But by that time, I pinned 1 and got rid of 1, and I was this is turn 5, I think, when I got rid of the next one. So all that's left is the Necro, a bunch of zombies and the Hex Wraiths, and I think the I think the White King was still alive. I don't think I bolt throwed him off at the end. But yeah, it was. It all happened in one, like 2-foot square. So
Yeah,
just like,
do you think that was essentially you just played the game in that one point?
yeah, the game was all happening there, plus some hex wraiths trying to kill some bolt throwers, and the bolt throwers just rapidly, as fast as they can, shooting everything into these Black Knight busts before it gets anywhere near them. And then at the last hurdle, the horses just snapped all the legs and killed the riders. Like, ooh. I've rolled like that. I know what that's like. It's horrific.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of a Black Knight bus, to be honest.
It's got the same downsides as this Silver Helm bus in that, you only have to fail a few saves and its combat effectiveness is gone.
Yeah, the other thing that matters more is there's not a lot of wounds there to soak up before you start losing your general with VC, and it's obviously just so much more costly than it is for elves.
Yeah, because losing the prince is not the end of the world, but if you lose your general, it's you start crumbling then, don't you? So
yeah.
I was saying, like, you don't have to give me the full "did you enjoy it" points here, because it's not an enjoyable game when everything goes against you. Really.
That and you're just not a nice guy to play.
Well, there's that as well, of course, but I can't do anything about that. When he rolled the 2 1s for the dangerous terrain on the, I was shocked. Like I felt it, and it was in my favor.
That's just what you say though. We've all been there, and it's just not cool, is it?
Nah. But it's the helplessness. Like there's literally nothing I can. It's not bad play.
Yeah, it just is what it is.
Yeah, and it's that It's like with the Phoenix Guard in the game before. Like I should statistically, which is why statistics are other bollocks. I should be able to roll more than this, and just haven't.
Aye.
Yeah. But anyway, that was my game 4. So that was a win.
So essentially, what we're saying is, so far, every time I've won, you've lost, and every time you've won, I've lost.
That's pretty much what happens. Yeah.
Well, my game 5 then was against Danny's Empire, and when I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, bollocks! That's a lot of guns." So at the back left there, so it goes. I think so it goes cannon, Hellstrom rocket launcher, cannon, and there's an engineer approximately 3 inches between both of those war machines.
Just pinging about.
Yeah. In front of that, you've got what looks to be Gelt, except it's not Gelt. It's actually a level 4 on Death on a Pegasus. In front of him, you've got a large block of 2, 4, 6, 8, 14 Inner Circle Knights, led by the mustachioed hero himself, Kurt Helleborg, which is just legendary. The side of that, you've got Demis. To the other side, you've got a big block of crossbowmen and a level 2 fire wizard, and then a steam tank. What you can't see on that photo is that off to the right-hand side, there is a unit of swordsmen. So it's dawn attack, so you roll for everything lands. And on my right-hand side and Danny's left, the only things that drop on that side is one block of 21 swordsmen, I think they are, 12 swordsmen, 20 swordsmen, and a block of 40 zombies on my side. And that is it. Everything else was either central or to the left. So we played the game on essentially half the board.
Common theme.
It was hilarious. So my setup ended up being really quite good, to be honest. So I had sort of Vargulf on the left, Spirit Host on the left, zombies. Then dogs in front of Hex Wraiths in front of a Terrorgeist. Then Hex Wraiths in front of skeletons. Then we had a Terrorgeist, bats, really condensed, general in the centre, like almost perfect setup for VC. Like I couldn't have made it up. This photo that is shown there, that will come shortly. That was one of the wildest things that's ever happened to us. So this game was just insane, to be honest. So, once I looked at all these cannons, I was like, "Oh my god, that's a lot of cannons." Danny's response was, "Don't worry, they haven't done anything yet." And I said, "All right, cool." So, he goes first. Steam Tank comes forward. Steam Tank comes forward. Other things move around a little bit. Knights move forward and start positioning themselves as the demis. This picture hasn't happened yet. This is a little bit later. But then the cannon from the Steam Tank shoots at a Terrorgeist. Naturally hits a Terrorgeist because it's got an enormous base. Wounds a Terrorgeist. And I then roll a 6 for my regen save.
Wrong.
Which was glorious. We then move on to Wee's first cannon. Rolls a misfire. Engineer re-rolls. Rolls another misfire. Rolls a 3. Can't shoot this turn or next. I'm thinking, this could not have gone better for us. We then go on to his second/third cannon. Rolls a misfire. Engineer re-rolls. Rolls another misfire. And then proceeds to roll a 1 and blows up his cannon. So,
right.
In turn 1, he's killed one of his own cannons, stopped one from shooting for turn 1 or turn 2, and I've regened on a 6-up the shot from the Steam Tank. It just could not have gone better for me.
Was he happy with that?
To be honest, the game we had an absolutely fantastic. It was a genuinely good game. Like it was a really lovely way to end the weekend. Like we spent. It was essentially just 2 hours of us sort of just laughing about.
It did look good because I think again I was.
Yeah, we were quite close again. This was it was good. Like it was. It's just a bit like we laughed a lot. To be honest, like I'm surprised we were told to shut up a little at one point because it was just hilarious. Like wild things just happened. Like that. Like, you can't write that. Like he rolled 4 misfires in a row for his cannons. Like how'd you make that? Like how'd you sort of plan for that? Like you just can't. It comes back what you said earlier about it being a dice game. It was just insane. So after I essentially got away like scot-free from his turn 1 shooting, I was like, get in. So naturally I fly up. I think Hexwraith charges Steam Tank. Because why the hell wouldn't they? Then the Terrorgeists move up. I then scream off the Steam Tank in a turn, which is a treat.
That's impressive.
My dogs and
10 wounds.
Yeah, well, I did something. I had Doom and Darkness on it. I cast Doom and Darkness on the Steam Tank down to LD7, and then proceeded to. It wasn't LD7 because it wasn't in his general's bubble, so it was LD4. So some people might have said it was overkill at that stage, but I enjoy screaming off Steam Tanks. And once again, as I said earlier, the Terrorgeists did some serious lifting. So that died. The Vargulf and the dogs go flying up the other up that flank, and sort of really get into his back line with his sort of dying cannon. The cannon that sort of misfired rather. And then it's Operation Mop Up around the backfield. His Hellstroms do a crazy amount of damage across a few turns into me skeletons. Whilst all this is going on, though, when I'm essentially mopping up around this backboard, I've screamed off all these knights and everything as well. The two most hilarious things, after how outrageously bad his cannons were, were, one, the level 2 Fire Wizard charges a unit of Hex Wraiths, which you might think, that's insane. And then you find out he's got the Dragonbane gem.
Oh, that's good.
Which, he couldn't wound me, but he had a 2 board against my attacks, Hex Wraiths of our flaming attacks, which was hilarious, and frankly, bravo to Danny. That was one of the many things we laughed at hilariously. You think, no, I've got the Dragonbane gem. It's like, oh, you son of a bitch. You think Jonas Stimulus is absolutely not. Like, why the hell would you lie about that on a wizard level 2? It was hilarious. I did eventually kill him, but I think it took about 6 combat turns for a unit of Hex Wraith to kill this wizard. It was just ridiculous.
I think you didn't have Flaming Sword at that point, then.
Honestly, it was just... the game was genuinely... Like, I'm skipping around a lot of details, but the game was phenomenal. This photo here, though, so he gets his wizard flies up. Like, it's a big win as it's sitting to the VC. So his wizard's like, why the hell not? He's going to Hail Mary. So he flies across here, and then he rolls for magic, and he only gets 3 dice. I'm like, okay. Not much you can do with that. And we both think, of course, like, dice let us down again. So he 3 dice as Purple Sun. And he gets it. And I can't stop it. He then Purple Suns across the skeletons. And in the front rank of that skeletons is my level 4 Death Wizard and me General. It's okay. Got Lookout Sirs. Except I fail both my Lookout Sirs.
That's the ones coming back then from the previous.
Yeah, here we go. I was like, oh my god, like, once again, I'm going to lose me General, and I'm going to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, because even if all I do is take LD tests and die, there's probably long enough left that I'll lose the game from this dominating point. And game 4, flashbacks just come to us. No, please God, no. So, he casts the Purple Sun. I pass my initiative test on me level 4. I pass the initiative test on me General. And I'm like, oh, this is glorious. And the template stops about 3 millimeters short of hitting me Terrorgeist. So at this stage, I'm like, this is fantastic. Like, I was worrying about nothing. Because he kills so many skeletons, though, he rolls for his power. The death magic gets the world's collection of dice back. He then is it Boona?
Boona is toughness. Caress is strength.
2. Yeah, he Boona'd me level 4 wizard and kills him. And I was like, you. At this point, we're just laughing because he went from having a 3 days magic phase to the single best magic phase I think I've ever seen. Kills me level 4, which obviously it was hilarious. He then gets more dice back.
So you get dice back off that as well.
Yeah, I was like, stop it, Danny. That's what you get for screaming me Steam Tank. That is absolutely not cool. He then casts Spirit Leech, I think it was, on me General, and I've got no dice to stop him, and it's just a flat dice roll off. And I was like, oh my god, me General's going to get Spirit Leech to death. This is an absolute disaster.
An ironic end.
It would have been an ironic end. I'm sure he wins the roll, and I regen. Couple of them.
Spoil sport.
I think he reaches by 3, enough to kill me General, and I make 2 regens. At this point, like, I nearly faint over the table with just relief. Oh my god, that was just outrageous. Anyway, the game ends up finishing. I think I kill everything. I think I managed to fly me General off so I can march my Terrorgeist over, and eventually I've screamed off everything on the board, essentially. And I think single-handedly, give or take, the Terrorgeist have killed everything. They killed, well, not everything, but they killed the Terrorgeist in this game killed the Steam Tank. They killed the unit of 12 Inner Circle Knights. They killed Hellborg. They killed the unit of 3 Demis. they kill the level 4 wizard.
So the lesson is kill the Terrorgeists early then.
Yeah, well, which we tried to do, to be fair to Danny, and the lesson here was don't roll 4 misfires on your cannons in a row. The hilarious bit that goes beyond this is that combat on the right-hand side between 20 swordsmen and 40 zombies eventually ends with the zombies breaking the swordsmen and running them down. However, that was after about, again, 6 rounds of combat. The zombies have gone from 40 strong to less than 20. So they're half killed by these freaking swordsmen. And the swordsmen only eventually lose because they end up losing enough ranks and getting caught. But, genuinely hats off to, Danny. It was such a fun game, and what a phenomenal way to end the weekend. It was just so enjoyable. It really was.
In
a win to the VC, naturally, because I've tabled them.
I'll see us playing the game. It did look like it was a riot.
It was just meant, genuinely, I'm surprised we weren't told to just shut up at one point, because we just spent 2 hours laughing. It was just funny. It was good. Such a fun game.
Well, in contrast to you having a fun opponent to play on the last game, I had to play Warhammer's equivalent of Phil Mitchell, and played Adam and his Dark Elves, who were on the.
Adam, who I played game 3.
Yeah.
And our good friend Adam.
I'm joking if he's listening to this.
The short Frenchman.
Batman. So this was Dawn Attack. I don't have any. Again, for some reason, I didn't take any wide shots when I was on the last day. But anyway, I think do I go first? I think so. Anyway, so the Reavers and the bolt throwers are on the right-hand side, and there's 2 bolt throwers in the middle. The Silver Helms are in the middle. The Phoenix Guard are on the left. That's great. As are the archers. So they have to sort of finagle the way back. He's got quite a good spread actually. So his executioners, I think, are on his right. His warlocks are facing off against the archers on my left. The characters and the cold ones are in the middle. And this is because when he was fighting you just declare a charge with the Silver Helms. He just flees them off, and then they rally the next turn, and then you sort of dragging the Silver Helms out of position. The Phoenix Guard, I'm trying to aim them at the executioners, and they flee off. And I'm like, it's elves, isn't it? So they're going to fail to rally, but no, they do rally and they come back. But I could shoot it was quite good, but not enough. I shot most of all the units to death, but because there was one Doomfire Warlock left, they're fighting the archers. The archers shot them down to one Doomfire Warlock left, but there's one left, so you don't get any points for it.
You've one guy sitting in multiple units, essentially giving you the fingers from across the board.
That's what it's like, yeah. So the Silver Helms get dragged. I try to charge some rallied Dark Riders, which are just on the other side of that hill in the middle there. He flees them off. They fail charge onto the hill, so they're exposing their flank to the Cold War Knights and the Sorceress on the dragon. The other character, the general, just sort of goes and tries War Machine hunting, but he comes back at the end. The Phoenix Guard turn around and try to help with this, but they just this block of knights just gets charged in the side. I try casting Mind Razor, but then you just don't charge them in if they've got Mind Razor on. You just wait for when they haven't got it on. So they get charged by the Dark Riders, the Cold Ones, and possibly the Dragon. Anyway, they all get wiped out. They don't really do much back. They might kill a few Dark Riders. And eventually it just ends up in a massive melee in the middle with the Phoenix Guard.
Oh,
God. So that's the Phoenix Guard kill all of the Cold One Knights, except the BSB. They get him down to 1 wound, but then for some reason can't do any more wounds to him. These executioners have come back, so these things guys are actually pointing towards the executioners, because I reformed them in combat just so I didn't get disrupted and all that. This sorceress gets over the course of about 5 rounds of combat, I managed to get 12 wounds on her, and she makes every single ward save. This is insane. I can't do any more damage to him. These constantly get double soul blight on them because of the still one Doomfire Warlock.
One Warlock in your life.
Yeah, and she's on death, so she gets soul blight. I miscast Mindrazor on the first time, and I get the you forget the spell. So
no!
So that's like, well, I've lost a magic level, and I've lost the only spell that I really care about. Because if I just in this situation, I just dumped everything into Mindrazor on them, and if the wizard blows up, who cares? But I've lost the spell. That's the important one. So I get them down to like toughness. I think she's on toughness 1 or something at one point, and they're in toughness 2 or whatever. But it makes no difference. They just get, because they're boxed in, they just get depleted like in the first game, and then there's not enough of them, and they just break and run. But I didn't get many points because he's still got like a unit of 1 Warlocks left, because he's got 1 model left, and he's got all his Dark Riders except 1, I think, are still there, because he's got at least like there's about three of them left, and they can just
the odd bunch just holding points.
It's just holding points, and it's because it's so hard to get the points off. And then she should have died. She should have I should have done 6 wounds on her. She made 12 ward saves. It's ridiculous. Again, it was like you were saying, it's a really nice way to end, because it didn't really matter. I wasn't bothered about the result. This is like an ongoing thing. I played Adam on the last Derby Deathmatch against these different Dark Elf lists, so it's almost traditional. It was a great game, and it's great to play Adam. So
he's just a good fun opponent.
He's just
he's a filth monger.
Yeah, but this you can't say that.
This was just genuinely quite a pleasant, really different, fun list.
If you only had failed some more leadership tests for rallying, I'd have been very happy, because that
just a team player and failed some ward saves for you.
Yeah, because that block of executioners was like an inch off the board at one point. He rallied. I think he rallied on a 10 as well, because it's a musician or whatever it was. It was the musician that saved him. But yeah, all that big box of fast cavalry, and they just rally and do what they want. And then you charge them again, and then they flee again. And I can either charge them or leave them to do what they want. There's no real great answer to that. But yeah, just ended up with a massive fight in the middle, as is standard.
A lot of your games went this weekend, didn't it?
What, big fight in the middle?
Big fight in the middle, yeah.
Yeah, or I blame the dice, blame everything except myself.
Naturally. You wouldn't win.
It can't be me.
It couldn't be you. Heaven defend.
I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'll say that. I'm behind clenched teeth. But,
So win for a loss to finish on, then.
A loss to finish on, which I don't like doing, but whatever. What can you do?
Not as bad, but you don't mind though when it's a good game, do you?
Yeah, it didn't really matter. So I think I came 20th, which I wasn't particularly thrilled with.
Loss, win, loss, win, loss.
Yeah.
I, contrary, went win, loss, win, loss, win.
Completely the opposite of
exactly the opposite, and I finished 8th, which I was pretty pleased with, just having snatched defeat from the jaws of victory in round 4. But I'd had 5 genuinely good games, which was what really matters, to be fair.
And even more amazingly, you won most spot. Well,
I did, yeah. I won. I won most
sporting, whatever it was.
I was genuinely taken aback by it.
We all were.
To be fair, yeah. So 3 out of my 5 games voted me their favourite game vote, which I can only say thank you to me opponents who did vote for me. I very, very much appreciate it, and I did have an absolute blast of a weekend. Hopefully, I'll help the people that I played have a good game as well, because that is winning's great. Genuinely, it is, but it is. Let's not lie about it. But
that's why you go.
As long as afterwards you've had games that you enjoy, actually doesn't really make any difference per se.
That's what I was telling myself.
I was very genuinely touched to have received 3 best sportsmanship votes and to get the best sportsman award. So thank you very much.
Well deserved, I hear. I mean,
it's because I'm a delight. I'm a delight, and deep down, people yearn to be screamed at by a terrorgeist.
You've got compromising photos on somebody.
People love big bats and a death wizard. That's what the evidence tells us.
Well, any were you happy with how your list performed?
Yeah, overall I was, yeah. Terrorgeist massively overperformed in reality. They were just so good. My dice for the screams were just on fire. But it's when you combine it with a level, to be fair, what's amazing on a Terrorgeist when you can combine it with a level 4 Death Wizard, or at least a Death Wizard who happens to roll Doom and Darkness quite a lot, because that -3 leadership,
it's 3 extra wounds.
Well, yeah, pretty much guaranteed, because as per the FAQ, it does affect your general's inspiring presence as well. So it means even if your general's at LD 10, you're still only at LD 7 against the scream, which essentially means you take 2d6 -1 wounds. So even going off average, you're taking 6 wounds of scream. And if you can combine both screams, it's 12 wounds a turn, which is just massive. But to be fair, they did very well. Hexwraiths did solid. They always do this, reliable, and they don't get annihilated off magic shooting off magic. Truth be told, other than them, the rest of the army did very, very little, which is about standard, except for the glorious spirit host that killed Adam's general in game 3.
And nobody else.
All the spirit host. And don't let him tell you that anybody else was involved. It was just a spirit host against his general. But no, list performed exactly as I expected it to perform. It's not massively different from my standard list, except I don't normally have a level 4 on death, to be fair. I don't normally have a level 4 wizard. Because I normally have me Ghoul King's normally on another Terrorgeist, to be fair, to make 3 Terrorgeists. So, just to take away from any moral high ground anyone thought I was trying to aim at for not normally having a level 4 wizard, I do normally have at least a third scream. But actually, the level 4 wizard did perform. Not so much, you didn't kill hardly anything except Core Hill in game 1. But Doom and Darkness with Terrorgeist is just a match made in heaven, to be honest. What about your list? Like you said, you mentioned at the start, we chatted about it, but very different to your normal list. Big block of Cav, how did you find that?
I enjoyed playing them, and I liked having them in the list. They didn't really do anything to justify that feeling, but it's just different. Because
you're going to persist with them enough to have some more practice / fun games with them and see how you find them.
I would definitely take them in a not a specific practice, just a testing the list. Just a game. Because if you actually get them in, great, but they are just a massive shoot me target.
Yeah.
Because they're so much faster than anything else in the army. You can kill them before the rest of the army gets to you, which is where, if you're going to take 1 unit of Cav, you should probably take a load of flyers.
Because you didn't have any Phoenixes either that would naturally take some shooting away from them or be right there to support them.
Yeah, there's nothing as fast because they're moving 18 inches a turn potentially, and the Phoenix Guard are only moving 10. So there's nothing to help them out. So if they go ahead, they're just going to get shot. However, having a guy who's strength 7 before attacks, he's really helpful because I don't really use melee combat characters.
You very rarely use a combat character, to be fair to you. You always just use a mage.
It's always support characters I use. And you can get them just to the limits here. So I would use. I always enjoy using princes anyway. Normally on a Star Dragon, but there's something in a mounted prince that I would definitely take him again.
It feels quite right thematically as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is narratively that a prince would be leading a load of silver helms, but I did enjoy it. It didn't work as I hoped it would, but that's a combination of my bad decision making and again not enough practicing. And I probably would take out the bolt throwers and maybe replace it with maybe a phoenix or a unit of sisters or something like that.
I do really like the sisters when you use them. I think they're such a threateningly unit, especially because I tend to play. I think when I play VC, they're terrifying.
Just that magical shooting is really good, and strength because they can put out 20 strength 4 shots, and 4 bolt throwers put out 24. So they're probably comparable. The only thing is you've only can shoot one thing at a time, and the shorter range. But if I could put them in maybe, make a few changes. But I enjoyed playing it, and I got spells off. It wasn't like the normal thing where you can only get one shadow spell off, and you feel like you're being robbed. It's just a few things that you can't account for, or stupid mistakes. So it's not the list's fault. It's the general
story of the weekend, wasn't it?
It was a good weekend. I enjoyed it.
We'll say congratulations to Scott, who I played in game.
No, we won't.
2, who obviously won the event with Wood Elves.
Anyone can win with an end.
Well, that's not true, though, is it? It's not true, but genuinely hats off to him. It was,
if he's listening to this.
We're not joking, Scott. God damn you.
But
congratulations. Joby, who came second with Empire, and Jonathan, who came third with those High Elves.
Yeah, strong Empire showing again.
And once again, I know we said it at the start, we say it every time, the Triple Crown guys, what a fantastic weekend again that you ran, phenomenal.
Can I just say again on that point, congratulations to me, who called the Empire being one strong and highly represented in this. So
we did say that. We also said High Elves would do well. Not yours, but somebody else's.
I said the Empire. You said something else.
I said High Elves. Either way, neither one of them won, Mark. So Wood Elves did.
Empire came second, and Empire were the highest represented, weren't they? Was there 5 Empire lists?
There was a lot of Empire lists.
So in a way, I won. Whatever.
Tell you what wasn't there? There was a couple of lists that weren't there. There was no Skaven, which was a bit of a surprise.
Oh no!
But also, considering it's my year of the Tomb Kings, and I didn't take them, there was no Tomb Kings there. I mean, mainly because it's win-loss draw, bless them. Who are useless sods.
Well,
great event, as Derby always is, to be fair, or any of the TC events.
So, before we go, what's the next one on the horizon?
So I unfortunately can't make. There's a small sort of event coming up in Macclesfield, which I believe you're going to.
I'm going. Rob's going. Danny's going.
Which should be really cool, but unfortunately I can't attend. My next event is in October, which is the Scotland of the follow from the last Scotland event that we went to.
Yeah.
Which I think you, I, and Andy are attending again.
Absolutely.
That's always a good one-day event.
Here's some spoilers or some top hot gossip for those who've lasted 2 hours to listen to the end of this. My list will include Malekith, Eternity King. So you heard it here first.
For the Macclesfield one?
No, for Scotland.
No, it won't.
End times characters equals win. So therefore, best end times character guaranteed to win.
I don't think Scotland allow end times characters.
I don't care.
All right, you're taking them regardless, yeah?
We can debate that when I get there.
And then I suppose later in the year, unfortunately, again, I can't make the narrative, which is a shame because I'm on holiday. But you're going.
I've got 2-3 dragons to paint for that. So
Good man.
That's August written off.
And then later in the year, the Cardiff Crusade have just announced their Christmas Crusade date, which is the weekend of the 4th of November, which I am looking to attend, and you're not sure if you can attend yet.
Not sure. We'll see. But the continuing punishing of the High Elves in comp and the non-punishing of Dark Elves in comp means I'm not sure.
Yeah, the comp is quite wild in that regard. Like no punishment for swarms of witch elves is outrageous.
So the double cauldron witch elf horde is fully possible.
What is hilarious though is that there's no limit on a plus comp. So in the meantime, I am going to play test a plus 20 comp Orc and Goblin list because that should be hilarious.
Well, updates to follow on that. But otherwise, that was Derby. So we'll be back. I don't know. We're going to try and do a tier list, I think, just to break up these constant reviews episodes. So we'll try and sort that out.
Anyone who actually enjoys listening to us talk nonsense for a little while.
Well, there's at least 3 people I can think of who does.
And that one special person, as we mentioned, you know who you are.
Of course, Jack. Friend of the channel. Anyway, thanks again for listening to this nonsense. We'll be back with the next episode in the future.
Thank you.